I decided that, when I got married, I should probably help us out. So in the beginning of my marriage, I gave my husband a deck of cards, kind of a flashcard, if you will. And on the front of the cards, I wrote different scenarios, like I had a bad day, or I'm not feeling well, things like that. And on the back, I wrote exactly what he should say and do. So he took these cards, and he said, okay, kind of chuckled, and he threw them in a drawer somewhere, and of course, I forgot about them. A couple months into our marriage, I came home from work one day, and I had had kind of a miserable day, right? And I walked through the door, and I go, wow, that was not a great day. And he said, oh, jumped up off the couch, runs down the hallway. I hear a drawer open and close, comes back, shuffles through some cards, reads one of them, and puts them down on the counter. And he says, may I pour you a glass of wine? And we could sit down and you can tell me all about it. And I went, wow, it worked. So where do we even get gender roles, or gender differences, if you will? This is a picture of me and my little... All right, brother, you got it. But during the 70s, it's interesting because there wasn't so much gender definition as there is now, or differentiation, if you will. So haircuts were kind of unisex, if you see ours there. Clothing was kind of unisex. And even toys were unisex, right? So it wasn't actually until the 80s that toy stores started to separate sections to girls and boys. And so today, when kids go into a toy store, they have to choose. They're kind of forced to choose to say, oh, well, I'm a girl, so I better go to the girls section, or I'm a boy, I better go to the boys section. The next thing I'll show you and start to talk about are the 5 key differences between men and women. So the research shows is that men will look at things with logic and facts, like, what about that broken arm, right, of the doll? And women might look at it and say, wow, I feel so bad that, the little girl felt so bad about the broken arm, right? So logic and feelings is something that if we're sitting in a meeting all together and we're thinking about or talking about what is the client's reaction, or what is the customer that we're going to present to, what are they going to need or want? Men may start talking about, well, they're going to want to know the numbers. They're going to want to understand the content of the product, the functionality, et cetera, et cetera. And women might be saying, well, they might want to know how this is going to make their organization feel, or how people are going to use it. So both of these ways of thinking and acting are absolutely important and necessary in our organizations today, because our clients are going to be diverse, right? We're going to have men and women as clients and customers. The first day, I was down there doing workshops like this session. The first day, I had men, and they went out and they were playing tennis. And the other nice thing about working in Europe in general is that you can actually open windows in the company. So I could hear out the window these 2 guys playing tennis. And they were like, oh, yeah, I've got you. Ooh, I'm going to beat you. This is going to be great. Oh, I'm getting really good at my backhand, right? And they're really competitive out there, speaking really competitively. So they come inside, and one guy has his 2 fingers taped up, and his opponent says, ha, I broke his fingers. Isn't that great? Ha. So the next day I heard women playing tennis, and they were like, wow, your backhand's getting really good. Nice shot. Really competing, but still really encouraging each other in this competition. And when they walked back in, they said, I don't know, I wasn't really keeping score, but you were really playing well. Oh, that was so much fun. We should do that again. Now, they were competing as well, and I'm sure they actually knew who was winning, but the communication around it was totally different. So it's not that women aren't competitive, because I know many of you played sports, maybe play sports today. I'm not saying that we aren't, but it's how do we discuss the competition? How do we talk about it? How are we comfortable showing it? Within the area of finance, and they really wanted to get more women in management positions and in top positions to be able to get promoted through the ranks. So they went to look at those job descriptions, and they found that if a job description had 10 qualifications that they were asking for, that men, if they had 5 or 6 of them, would go ahead and apply for the job. that women would look at that same job description and they'd see the 10 qualifications and they'd say, well, I think I only have 9, so maybe 8, so I shouldn't even bother trying, right? I don't want to take the risk. So it's interesting. So I do this workshop, as I said, around the world for SAP specifically, and I've also for Dell and a few other companies, LinkedIn, et cetera. And I thought it must be, not dramatically, but there must be some differences culturally. And honestly, maybe 5 to 10%. Yes?
I guess I'm curious, maybe to poll the women in the room.
It's going to get juicy.
I mean, do you guys feel like a lot of this is true? Yes?
He's asking
Because
if women think that this information is true.
No, I'm asking.
It's a good question.
Let me clarify.
You're very brave, and it's a very good question.
Let me clarify. So the reason why I'm asking is because I've read some of these studies before, but I've never tried to confirm it, right? So I was just curious.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a good question.
What can we do to fix it?
So there's some things that he will say to my stepson that I'll take the counter view on. So it comes up, for sure. I think it's really important to show the view. I always try to play it, not that something's good or bad or wrong or right, but I try to say, hey, look, from the perspective of women, this is what, how they might see it, right? And then I'll try to back that up with some articles or things for them.
So we're talking about a very specific difference between genders. In your opinion, though, would you think that there's more differences between people, so an introvert and an extrovert, or personalities, or innovative person and a conservative, they may have more clashes. So when we look at that bigger picture talking about diversity?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So it's interesting because I teach personality differences and leadership styles, and I also teach a lot on cultural differences. My simple answer, I would say, is this is just one other spectrum with which you can look at people. Yeah.
Do you think there's a risk in people embracing this framework too tightly, meaning adjusting their behavior, their communication style, because they're assuming that the woman has that perspective or that approach, or changing the way that they communicate to a room of all men.
For sure.
Or, because I've seen that happen before, where I've seen, communication styles of an individual shift dramatically based on what he or she may
what they assume the other person
perceive.
wants. Yeah, that's a very, very good question. Definitely. That's part of the reason why I do the workshops separated. And I just work with women first, I work with men after, or vice versa. But keep the group separate, because when you get in a mixed room, people start to go, "Ooh, no, don't tell them that I think that way," as a man or a woman, right? "Oh, I don't really want them to think that, because now they're going to start trying to be harmonious with me, and I'm a really competitive person," right? Or vice versa, And so that's why I have to be cautious and say, it's really important for us not to stereotype, but for us to know what could be the background of why someone's communicating the way they are. So we listen first.
Are you seeing this as you continue to study this and you continue to look at this and the framework and everything? Is it changing at all based on generations or not? Is this very fundamental and will be for people born today, born 30 years ago?
Yeah. I wish I could say that it's changed a lot. I mean, that we're blending this, or in some way, which would be the ideal situation, right? To be able to leverage all these characteristics. But I don't see that. The research shows, if there's a book called The Confidence Code, it's pretty interesting. book, and it's Perceptions of Confidence. And they do a lot of research with both executives and people coming right out of college. And there's no real difference in terms of self-perception, in terms of confidence levels, in terms of even like women asking for money, right, in their first negotiation. So I guess it's only something like 25% or something of women even negotiate their first salaries coming out of college, and as opposed to men where it's like 75% will negotiate their own salaries, and that's today. You know, I would have expected that in maybe my mother's generation, but I'm a little surprised that it's still happening today.
I have less empathy because there's no tears, you know, he's mad.
Ah, that's interesting, yeah, right. That's a very important point. We as women actually have to start having empathy for anger. We do, because it's their version of crying. So it is.